Most people spend their lives trying to make huge leaps, and that's exactly why they never move forward. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's the excessive effort that actually keeps you from changing. What truly transforms your life isn't intensity, it's precision. In today's video, I'm going to show you the microscopic habit that redefines your identity, reshapes your environment, and creates a compound effect so powerful that 12 months from now, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. Stay until the end, because the key that really changes everything is the one almost no one notices. 1. Understand the power of 1% per day. The compound effect of micro habits. Think about it with me. Most people overestimate what they can change in a week and underestimate the impact of consistent micro actions. University College London published a study in 2009 showing that, on average, it takes 66 days for a habit to become automatic, not through willpower, but through structured repetition. That's why the concept of 1% better every day, popularized by James Clear in Atomic Habits, works so well. Small daily improvements lead to accumulated transformation. The brain operates through small, consistent margins. The culture of radical change everything at once, start over on Monday, sounds exciting but fails in practice. A study by SoBrief analyzed intense behavior goals and found abandonment rates over 90% after just 30 days. Our brain rejects abrupt shocks because it perceives them as threats, not as growth. High performers know this. They want measurable progress, not drama. While most people seek revolutions, those who actually grow choose subtle and sustainable adjustments that the body and mind can accept without resistance. Now here's the detail. The micro habit only works when it's ridiculously simple. The 2-minute rule has been tested in numerous behavioral studies showing that very small actions lead to greater adherence. Reading a single page, writing down one idea, organizing your desk for 30 seconds. The size doesn't matter, the consistency does. The goal isn't effort, it's repetition. The micro habit acts as an identity trigger. It reminds you every day of who you're choosing to become. James Clear emphasizes that goals are results, but habits are systems. And systems only hold up when your identity shifts first. Most people say, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to get rich, but still think like someone who wastes their time. High performers think differently. I'm disciplined. I use my time wisely. I act with clarity. When you adopt functional identities, your decisions become more logical, and your self-control improves. You start acting like someone who has already succeeded, even before the results show up. A Stanford University study conducted in 2017 with 400 participants analyzed daily micro-commitments. The group that adopted tiny but consistent actions saw a 43% increase in habit retention after 3 months. Why? The brain interprets micro-wins as proof of competence, reinforcing confidence and reducing anxiety. That's why 1% a day doesn't seem heroic, but it's deeply strategic. You win through accumulation, not intensity. Now picture this. You look at your life 12 months from now and realize you didn't do anything grand, but you grew every single day. 1 year of 1% improvement per day equals 37 times progress, according to exponential growth calculations. That's the quiet advantage of millionaires. They don't rely on magic. They rely on consistency. So today, choose your micro habit. 1 step, not 10. 1 action, not a giant plan. Because the person who grows 1% a day doesn't compete with anyone. They become unstoppable through logic and discipline. 2. The invisible trigger. How environment and context shape habits without you even noticing. Most people believe habits are a matter of discipline, but neuroscience tells a different story. The brain creates automatic loops when a behavior repeats in the same context. It's the trigger, routine, reward cycle. A widely cited study in behavioral psychology from the University of Southern California analyzed daily tasks and found that up to 43% of what we do isn't based on conscious decisions, but conditioned responses to our environment. In other words, you're not acting, You're reacting to the context you've built. Now think about your daily life. There's a reason why you check your phone every time you sit on the couch or feel hungry when walking past the kitchen. Your environment speaks to you even when you don't notice. High performers understand this logic, and that's why they control what's around them. While most people try to change themselves, top performers change the stimuli, simplify their surroundings, and make the desired behavior the natural path. Systems beat willpower. One of the most effective methods for doing this is habit stacking, introduced by researchers at IIT Delhi and popularized by James Clear. You take an existing habit, brushing your teeth, drinking coffee, sitting down to work, and attach a micro-habit right after it. The brain loves this predictability. It doesn't have to decide. It just follows a known flow. After I close my laptop, I write down one idea. After I wash my face, I read one page. This built-in repetition lowers resistance and builds consistency. But here's an important detail. If the habit requires logistical effort, it dies. Studies in behavioral design show that the lower the physical and mental friction, the higher the likelihood of repetition. That's why leaving your book on the table increases reading. Leaving your water bottle visible boosts hydration. Keeping your phone out of reach reduces distraction. Habits don't grow in chaos, they grow on the shortest path. This brings us to a truth few people want to accept. Willpower is overrated. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that people considered disciplined simply expose themselves to fewer temptations. It's not strength, it's strategy. The right environment makes the behavior almost automatic. The wrong environment turns your day into an exhausting inner battle. And once you understand this, your life changes. You stop blaming yourself for failures and start adjusting the system. You stop depending on motivation and start operating through logic. High performers don't wait to feel ready. They build environments that push them forward. And when your environment works in your favor, your mental patterns shift, your performance rises, and you realize that consistency isn't an effort. It's a side effect of the scenario you created. 3. Identity as the engine. The habit that redefines who you are. When you try to change only your behavior, transformation always feels heavy. But when you change your identity, behavior follows as a natural consequence. This is what Harvard researchers call self-signaling. Every action sends an internal message saying, "This is who I am." James Clear reinforces this in Atomic Habits. Results are merely side effects of the identity you choose to adopt. It's not about running a marathon. It's about becoming someone who runs. Now notice how this challenges common logic. Most people set huge goals, but keep the same internal narrative. I'm undisciplined. I'm unlucky. I'm not good with money. This inner dialogue destroys performance. High performers, on the other hand, shape identity before the result. I'm someone who takes care of my future. I'm someone who does what I say. I'm someone who grows every day. The mind starts working to confirm this new version, not the old one. And there's a simple practice for this. Declare your identity explicitly. Phrases like, I'm someone who reads every day. I'm someone who invests calmly. I'm disciplined with my time, have a real impact on behavior. A study from the University of Cambridge, conducted with 180 participants, showed that identity-based affirmations tied to micro-actions increased habit adherence by 47% after 10 weeks. Identity drives decisions, but identity can't survive on words alone. It needs evidence. Every executed micro-habit, no matter how small, places a vote for the version of you that's evolving. It's a cumulative process. Repetition becomes evidence. Evidence becomes conviction. And when conviction grows, behavior stops being an effort and becomes a reflex. This cycle is what separates consistently disciplined people from temporarily motivated ones. The most interesting part is that once your identity shifts, motivation stops being a critical factor. You stop thinking, do I feel like it? and start acting like someone who has already decided who they are. This reduces mental friction, decreases performance anxiety, and increases clarity. Research from the University of Michigan shows that stable identity correlates with greater resilience and less procrastination, because your action no longer depends on mood, but on mental patterns, and that's the key. You don't build habits to reach a future identity. You build habits to reveal your present one. High performers understand this intuitively. Most people try to change their life with brute force. Those who truly grow change the inner narrative first. When you choose who you are, the habit stops being a routine and becomes a logical consequence. That's how you build sustainable discipline and lasting mental wealth. 4. Invisible choices. Mindset versus motivation. Why motivation isn't enough. Most people wait to feel the right mood before acting, but behavioral psychology has already proven that motivation is far too unstable to sustain any serious change. Researchers at the University of Toronto analyzed patterns of action during moments of high and low motivation and concluded that behavior depends far more on structure than on mood. That's why high performers don't build routines based on emotion. They build systems based on logic. Motivation helps you start. Structure ensures you keep going. Think about the times you promised to change. Maybe you felt that initial burst of excitement, that this time it's happening energy, only to fall apart a few days later. That didn't happen because you're weak, but because your plan relied on a fuel that evaporates quickly. High performers don't rely on feeling like it. They rely on automatic triggers that determine the moment for action before the brain starts negotiating. The elite operate by decision, not desire. One of the most powerful mechanisms for this is anchoring habits to fixed moments in the day. Studies from IIT Delhi show that behaviors tied to predictable routines, waking up, finishing work, getting ready for bed, are up to 2.5 times more likely to stick. This reduces mental friction and eliminates the risk of procrastination. When the trigger is clear, the action becomes a consequence. As soon as I close my laptop, I study for 5 minutes. As soon as I wake up, I drink a glass of water. The decision was already made yesterday. Now here comes the neuroscience of automatism. Research published in the Journal of Behavioral Decision-Making examined how focused repetition transforms complex actions into automatic responses. What used to be effort becomes reflex. Automatism reduces cognitive energy expenditure, improves focus, and boosts self-control, 3 core pillars of high-performance psychology. When the habit is embedded in the system, you don't need courage, motivation, or positive thinking. You just do it. Now notice the parallel with finances and wealth. Habits are like capital investments. Daily micro-actions may seem small, but they compound interest over time. A Princeton study showed that consistent small actions produce exponential growth in areas like learning, productivity, and income. While most people chase big leaps, those who prosper rely on accumulation. It's the invisible decisions that build long-term competitive advantage. And the most powerful part? This logic reduces anxiety. When you realize motivation isn't required, the emotional pressure disappears. You replace guilt with strategy, chaos with clarity. And that clarity creates the mental pattern of millionaires. Small actions, repeated with precision, beat any short-lived burst of enthusiasm. It's not glamour, it's not intensity, it's smart consistency. And when you operate at that frequency, your performance rises, and your financial life begins to respond in a predictable way. 5. The keystone habit. Focus on what actually pays off. High performance simplification and prioritization. Most people waste energy trying to improve 10 things at once, but performance psychology shows the opposite. Real growth comes when you choose a single habit with disproportionate return. Researchers at the University of California analyzed high-performance routines and identified a simple pattern. People who focus on one pillar behavior outperform those who spread their energy across multiple areas. This is the logic of millionaires. Do less, but do it with precision. Think about how this applies to your routine. Maybe you're trying to read more, work out more, organize your finances, learn a new skill, all at the same time. But too many goals lead to paralysis. The brain interprets this overload as a threat and increases resistance. High performers avoid this scatter. They look for one habit that creates cross-impact, something that boosts energy, focus, clarity, and decision-making all at once. One behavior that moves the entire system. That's where the power of the Pareto principle comes in, applied to behavior. In any area, 20% of actions generate 80% of the results, meaning that in practice, you only need to identify which habit is at the top of that list. For some, it's getting quality sleep. For others, it's planning the day. For others, it's studying for 10 minutes. But once that habit becomes a fixed routine, everything else improves. Your mind operates with more order, your calm increases, and your financial performance rises because you're operating with clarity, not chaos. You know what goes against this? Modern culture, which glorifies multitasking and the addiction to collecting productivity, hacks. It's seductive, but unproductive behavior. Researchers at Stanford showed that multitasking reduces efficiency and increases the feeling of being out of control. Exactly the opposite of what you need to grow. High performers don't collect habits. They refine the essentials, eliminate the excess, and protect their focus like a financial asset. And there's powerful social proof of this. In studies conducted with Olympic athletes, top-level executives, and large-scale entrepreneurs, the differentiator wasn't raw talent. It was consistency in a few fundamental behaviors. They repeat the basics with precision. They know that a simple routine builds mental strength. They understand that clarity is a wealth multiplier. And that explains why average people get lost while elite performers thrive. Focus is a competitive advantage. At the end of the day, choosing your keystone habit is choosing direction. It's about stopping the waste of energy trying to become someone else and starting to improve what truly moves your life. When you focus on the essential, your entire system aligns. You gain time, increase self-control, make better decisions, and build a mental pattern of prosperity. One right habit is worth more than 10 vague intentions, and those who understand that begin to play the performance game in an intelligent, strategic, and sustainable way. 6. Habit resilience. How to stay consistent, even in the face of failure, crisis, or lack of motivation. Most people give up, not because the habit is hard, but because they believe that failing once means failing forever. Behavioral psychology shows the opposite. Setbacks are part of the neural consolidation process. A study from the University of Scranton tracked people building new habits and found that those who quickly resumed after a failure were up to 4 times more likely to maintain the habit for 12 months. The point isn't to be perfect, it's to be resilient. Think about your daily life. There are days when the world just doesn't cooperate. Work piles up, your mind feels heavy, your body is tired. That's where most people abandon the process, exactly when the habit needs protection the most. High performers do it differently. They apply the minimum version of the habit. 2 minutes, 1 movement, 1 vote for identity. That keeps the cycle alive, prevents full regression, and preserves your sense of control. And there are practical tools that make bouncing back easier. One of them is creating recovery triggers. It could be a sticky note on your desk, a phone alarm, or a specific phrase you say to yourself when you notice you're drifting from the habit. Researchers at the University of Berkeley observed that contextual reminders increase the likelihood of re-engaging with a habit by up to 70% after unexpected interruptions. It's not about motivation. It's psychological engineering. But there's a common mistake: trying to make up for the failure by overdoing it. People who skip a workout try to double it the next day. That breaks the system, increases stress, and leads to abandonment. Those who succeed understand that consistency matters more than intensity. Recovering rhythm is more important than recovering ego. This calm, self-control mindset is what separates those who grow from those who keep starting over. And here's a powerful perspective. Every failure brings a diagnosis. Maybe the trigger was poorly chosen. Maybe the action is still too big. Maybe the environment isn't helping. A study from the University of Chicago showed that sustainable habits are born from continuous adjustments, not brute force. A habit is a living system, not a rigid promise. When you treat failure as information, not judgment, your performance becomes much more stable. Resilience isn't about not falling, it's about not losing your internal rhythm. It's knowing that discipline isn't militarization, it's intelligence. It's realizing that continuing, even at low energy, preserves your identity as someone who keeps their word to themselves. And when that identity strengthens, your whole life responds. More focus, more clarity, more prosperity. Real consistency isn't perfect, it's strategic, human, and mentally powerful. 7. Scaling the habit, multiplying results, and building lifetime momentum. Once a habit becomes stable, many people think they need to double their effort to keep growing. But the elite do it differently. They expand slowly, in increments so small that the brain doesn't register them as threats. Researchers at the University of Exeter showed that gradual increases, 5%, 10%, maintain higher adherence than sudden changes. When you scale smoothly, you maintain internal control and eliminate the fear of losing everything, the fear that destroys consistency. What's interesting is that this kind of progression creates a domino effect. As you master one micro habit, other behaviors around it naturally start to improve. It's a phenomenon observed in Stanford's behavioral change model. Core habits generate spillover, extending their impact to health, productivity, focus, and even financial decisions. It's like adjusting a single screw and watching the entire machine run better. Your body feels more energized, your mind gets clearer, and your growth mindset gets stronger. Over time, this accumulation becomes massive. Imagine a 5-minute habit that evolves into 10, then 15. In a year, you've built a strength that seems disproportionate to the initial effort. The same applies to finances. Small, consistent decisions create predictable prosperity. Studies in behavioral economics show that incremental progression increases your sense of self-efficacy, the belief that you really control your destiny. That belief is at the core of a high-performance mindset. Now contrast that with most people. They live in cycles of intensity. They get excited, overdo it, burn out, and quit. High performers operate with quiet discipline. They build momentum. That state where life starts responding faster because you've become someone who's dependable to yourself. Momentum is a psychological asset. It reduces doubt, decreases procrastination, and increases execution speed. When you accumulate small wins, your mind starts naturally seeking bigger challenges. And over the years, what began as 1% better each day turns into a competitive advantage. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's consistency. High performers may appear to be moving faster, but their secret is that they never stopped. While others restart from scratch multiple times, they keep building. And that accumulation turns into clarity, decision-making power, emotional stability, and wealth. It's the math of the long term working in your favor. In the end, the habit stops being just a routine and becomes a permanent identity. You don't do it because you have to. You do it because it's who you are. That's where a lifestyle of continuous growth is born. Simple, stable, controlled, and powerful. When your habits scale with you, your entire life expands alongside them. Momentum becomes legacy, and that legacy isn't measured in goals. It's measured in the person you've become. Someone who keeps growing no matter the circumstances.